Echoes in the abyss. The vast expanse of space was a canvas of endless possibilities, yet it was also a reminder of the isolation that came with exploring the unknown. Captain Lyra Flynn stood on the bridge of the spaceship Aurora's Hope, her eyes fixed on the stars streaming past the viewport. The silence was almost palpable, broken only by the soft hum of the ship's systems. "Captain, we're receiving a distress signal," announced Lieutenant Commander Cale Jensen, his voice steady and alert. "It's faint, but it's definitely not natural." Lyra's gaze shifted to Cale, her mind already racing with the implications. "Where is it coming from?" "Looks like it's originating from an abandoned planet in the outer rim," Cale replied, his fingers moving swiftly over the console. "The signal is weak, but it's persistent." Dr. Neev Patel, the ship's chief scientist, stepped forward from her station. "Captain, if this signal is genuine, it could be a sign of something significant. We should investigate." Lyra nodded thoughtfully. The decision to pursue the signal wasn't straightforward. The risks were high, but so were the potential rewards. "Prepare the ship for jump. We'll take a closer look." As the Aurora's Hope hurtled through space, Lyra couldn't shake the feeling that they were being drawn into something much larger than themselves. The distress signal was a mystery, a call from the unknown that only they seemed willing to answer. The journey was long, but finally, they reached the edge of the system where the signal was strongest. The planet loomed before them, a desolate world devoid of life. Yet, the signal persisted, a beacon calling out into the void. "Captain, we're entering orbit," Cale announced, his eyes fixed on the navigation display. Lyra took a deep breath. "Let's see what we're dealing with." "Begin scanning the planet's surface." The silence that followed was tense, filled with anticipation. What would they find on this forsaken world? Was it a cry for help, or something more sinister? As the scans began to return, Lyra's heart quickened. There was something on the planet, something that didn't belong. The mystery had just deepened, and they were about to uncover secrets that would change everything. Shadows of the past. The landing craft descended onto the abandoned planet's surface with a gentle thud, sending up a plume of reddish dust that swirled in the fading light of day. Lieutenant Commander Cale Jensen stood at the entrance of the craft, his eyes scanning the desolate landscape. The silence was oppressive, punctuated only by the soft hum of the ship's systems and the gentle rustle of the wind. "All right, let's move out," Cale said, his voice firm but controlled. "We need to find the source of that signal." Dr. Neev Patel stepped forward, her equipment at the ready. "I'll start scanning for any signs of technology or life," she said, her eyes shining with curiosity. Engineer Caspian Blackwood followed closely behind, his tool belt heavy with gadgets. "I'll check for any structural integrity issues. We don't know what kind of environment we're dealing with here." As they ventured deeper into the planet's ruins, they stumbled upon remnants of an ancient civilization. Crumbling structures stood as testaments to a long-lost culture, their walls covered in strange symbols that seemed to tell a story of their own. Neev knelt beside one of the structures, her scanner beeping as it analyzed the symbols. "These markings are unlike anything I've seen before," she said, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's almost as if they're a mix of language and technology." Caspian examined the structure itself, his hands tracing the intricate carvings. "This isn't just decorative. It's functional. Whatever this civilization was, they were advanced." Cale's gaze swept across the horizon, his mind racing with possibilities. Whatever happened here, it wasn't natural. That signal didn't come from nothing. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the landscape in a deep, eerie twilight, the team continued their exploration. They uncovered more evidence of the civilization's technological prowess, but nothing that directly linked to the distress signal. It wasn't until they stumbled upon a hidden chamber deep within one of the structures that they found their first real clue. Inside, a holographic console flickered to life, displaying images of a catastrophic event that had ravaged the planet. This is it, Neve whispered, her eyes wide with awe. This is what happened here. Some kind of energy anomaly consumed everything. Caspian's expression was grim. And it looks like it's not over yet. Whatever caused this, it's still out there. Cale's jaw clenched. We need to get this information back to Captain Flynn. This changes everything. As they prepared to leave, the console beeped once more, displaying a final message. It was a warning, left by the civilization before it was consumed. Do not follow the signal, it read. It is not what you think. Cale's eyes met Neve's, a shared understanding passing between them. They had uncovered more than they bargained for, and now they had to decide whether to heed the warning or press on. The Whispering Void. Captain Lyra Flynn stood on the bridge of the Aurora's Hope, her eyes fixed on the holographic display projecting the data they had gathered from the abandoned planet. The mysterious signal still lingered, a constant reminder of the unknown dangers they were about to face. "Captain, we're detecting an energy anomaly ahead," announced Lieutenant Commander Cale Jensen, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. "It's unlike anything we've seen before." Lyra's gaze shifted to Cale. "Take us closer. We need to understand what we're dealing with." As they approached the anomaly, the ship was enveloped by an eerie silence. It was as if space itself was holding its breath in anticipation of what was to come. Dr. Neve Patel stepped forward, her eyes locked on the data streaming across her console. "Captain, I'm reading some kind of energy field. It's not natural." Suddenly, the ship was buffeted by unseen forces, throwing everyone off balance. The lights flickered, and the hum of the engines grew louder. "Report," Lyra demanded, her voice firm. "We're experiencing gravitational waves unlike anything in our database," Cale replied, his fingers flying across the console. "It's as if we're being pulled into a vortex." Telepathic specialist Lysander Gray, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "Captain, I'm sensing something, a presence. It's not clear, but it feels like it's trying to communicate with us." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Try to establish a connection, Lysander. We need to know what we're dealing with." Lysander closed his eyes, focusing his mind. After a moment, he opened them, his expression thoughtful. "It's not a creature, Captain. It's more like a gateway. Whatever is on the other side is trying to reach us." The ship shuddered again, and Lyra made a swift decision. "We'll proceed with caution. Prepare a probe to gather more data." As they launched the probe, the energy field around them began to fluctuate wildly. The ship was being pulled closer, and Lyra knew they had to act fast. "Lysander, can you sense anything else?" she asked, her voice urgent. Lysander's eyes were closed again, his face tense with concentration. "There's a warning, Captain. Whatever is on the other side, it's not what we expect. It's a doorway to something much larger." The probe's data began to stream back, revealing images of a vast, swirling vortex. It was a portal, one that seemed to lead to another dimension or universe. Lyra's heart quickened. They had stumbled upon something monumental, something that could change the course of their mission and perhaps the galaxy itself. "We need to decide whether to proceed," Lyra said, her voice measured. "The risks are high, but so are the potential rewards." Cale looked at her, his expression resolute. "We came this far, Captain. We should see it through." Lyra nodded, a sense of determination settling within her. "Prepare the ship for transit. We'll take the leap into the unknown." As the Aurora's Hope hurtled toward the portal, Lyra couldn't help but wonder what lay on the other side. Would they find answers, or would they face a new set of challenges that would test their resolve and courage? Fractured alliances. As the Aurora's Hope emerged from the portal, they found themselves in a sector teeming with activity. Ships from various nations and alliances were gathered, each with their own agenda. The air was thick with tension, as every faction was wary of the other's intentions. Lieutenant Commander Cale Jensen stood on the bridge, his eyes scanning the array of vessels before them. "Captain, we have multiple ships hailing us. It seems everyone is interested in the signal." Captain Lyra Flynn nodded thoughtfully. "Put them through. We need to know what we're dealing with." The communications officer, Lieutenant Aya, nodded and began to connect the calls. The first to speak was a diplomat from the Zorvathian Empire, a species known for their cunning and strategic prowess. "Greetings, Captain Flynn," the diplomat said, his voice smooth. "We propose a joint investigation into the signal. Together, we can uncover its secrets and ensure our mutual safety." Lyra considered the offer. "I'll discuss it with my crew. But we won't be swayed by empty promises. We need concrete assurances of cooperation." Engineer Caspian Blackwood spoke up from his station. "Captain, I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures from the Zorvathian ships. It looks like they're preparing for battle." Diplomat Zara Saeed, who had been observing the exchange, stepped forward. "Captain, I think I can help here. Let me negotiate with the Zorvathians. We need to establish trust if we're going to work together." Lyra nodded. "Very well, Zara. See what you can do." As Zara began her negotiations, Cale turned to Lyra. "Captain, we can't trust them blindly. We need a contingency plan." Lyra's expression was resolute. "Agreed. Prepare our defenses, but let's not provoke them unless necessary. We're here to uncover the truth, not start a war." The negotiations were tense, with each side trying to gain the upper hand. However, Zara's diplomatic skills eventually led to a tentative agreement. The Zorvathians would join forces with the Aurora's Hope, but only if they were allowed to lead the investigation. As they ventured deeper into the sector, they encountered more factions, each with their own agendas. The Zoridian Confederacy, known for their advanced technology, offered to share their findings in exchange for access to the portal. The Ntari, a reclusive species with unparalleled knowledge of the cosmos, remained aloof, observing from the shadows. The alliances were fragile, held together by the shared goal of understanding the signal. But beneath the surface, tension simmered, waiting to boil over into conflict. Lyra knew that their success depended on navigating these fractured alliances without sparking a war. She called a meeting with her senior officers to discuss their strategy. "We need to be cautious," Lyra said, her voice firm. "We're not just representing ourselves, we're representing humanity. Let's keep our focus on the mission and avoid any unnecessary confrontations." Cale nodded in agreement. "We'll need to be prepared for anything. These alliances can turn sour at any moment." Zara added, "I'll continue to work on strengthening our ties with the Zorvathians. If we can maintain their trust, it might give us an edge." Caspian spoke up, "I'll keep monitoring their energy signatures. If they make any aggressive moves, we'll be ready." As they continued their journey, the crew of the Aurora's Hope remained vigilant, aware that the line between cooperation and conflict was thin. They were walking a tightrope, balancing their desire for knowledge with the need to protect themselves and their allies. The signal remained a mystery, but one thing was clear: they were not alone in their quest for answers. The question was, would their alliances hold long enough for them to uncover the truth? Beyond the horizon. As the Aurora's Hope emerged from the portal, they found themselves in a realm unlike anything they had ever seen. The space around them was filled with swirling clouds of energy, and the air seemed to vibrate with an otherworldly power. Captain Lyra Flynn stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the holographic display projecting the data they had gathered. The mysterious signal was stronger now, and they were closing in on its source. "Captain, we're detecting a massive structure ahead," announced Lieutenant Commander Cale Jensen, his voice filled with awe. "It's unlike anything in our database." Lyra's gaze shifted to Cale. "Take us closer. We need to understand what we're dealing with." As they approached the structure, they realized it was a gateway, a portal to another dimension or universe. The signal was coming from beyond it, and they knew they had to cross over to find the source. Dr. Neev Patel stepped forward, her eyes locked on the data streaming across her console. "Captain, I'm reading energy signatures that suggest this gateway is stable. We can transit safely." Telepathic specialist Lysander Gray spoke up, his voice thoughtful. "I'm sensing something on the other side, Captain. It's a consciousness, a being of immense power." Lyra's expression was resolute. "Prepare the ship for transit. We'll proceed with caution." As they crossed the gateway, they entered a realm of pure energy, where time and space were fluid concepts. The being Lysander had sensed was before them, a vast, shimmering entity that seemed to encompass the entire universe. "Greetings," it said, its voice echoing in their minds. "I am the guardian of this realm. You have come seeking answers, but are you prepared for the truth?" Lyra's voice was firm. "We are. We need to understand the signal and its purpose." The entity began to communicate with them, revealing that the signal was a call for help, a warning of an impending catastrophe that threatened the fabric of space itself. The entity had been trying to alert the galaxy, but its methods were misunderstood, leading to fear and avoidance. "We need your help," the entity continued. "Together, we can prevent this disaster. But it requires a choice, to merge our consciousness with yours, creating a new entity capable of stopping the catastrophe." Lyra looked at her crew, seeing the determination in their eyes. "We'll do it," she said finally. "We'll merge our consciousness with yours." As they agreed, the entity began the process, and the crew of the Aurora's Hope felt their minds expanding, merging with the entity's vast consciousness. They became something new, a being capable of transcending space and time. With their newfound powers, they set out to stop the impending catastrophe. They traveled through dimensions, gathering allies and resources, until they finally faced the source of the threat, a rogue entity that sought to destroy the fabric of reality. The battle was intense, with energies clashing across the cosmos. But in the end, it was the combined might of the merged consciousness that prevailed, saving the galaxy from destruction. As the dust settled, Lyra's consciousness returned to her body, and she opened her eyes to find herself back on the bridge of the Aurora's Hope. The crew was around her, each of them changed by their experience. "We did it," Lyra said, her voice filled with pride. "We saved the galaxy." Kale smiled, his eyes shining with a newfound understanding. "And we became something more in the process." Neev nodded, her expression thoughtful. "We've been given a new perspective, a chance to see beyond the horizon." Lysander's gaze was distant, his mind still reeling from the experience. "We've been changed forever. We've seen the infinite possibilities of the universe." As they sailed back into the known galaxy, they knew that their journey had only just begun. They had been given a gift, a chance to explore the unknown and protect the cosmos from threats both internal and external. The Aurora's Hope became a legend, a symbol of humanity's courage and determination. And Lyra and her crew continued to explore, always pushing beyond the horizon, always seeking new challenges and new wonders. End of story.